Good morning. I promise I'll keep the 10 minutes, even though I don't have a background in aerospatial, but I will keep the 10 minutes. First of all, for those of you who don't know Valéo, it is a French company, so you should know Valéo, especially in this room. Headquartered in Paris, we are at the heart of the three automotive revolutions, very active in autonomous driving, very active in connected digital mobility, and also very active in electrification. And I will focus today on electrification like my colleagues from Bosch and Vitesco. I will take a step back and explain to you a bit first what we expect when we get to electrification and why we're doing what we're doing at Valéo and what is really the foundation of our strategy. But first, as you've seen, we are in a time, we are now, November 2019. In about a month and a half, there will be no powertrain head of an automotive company that will sleep for the next 12 months in 2020. The targets in 2020 are very, very severe. To meet those targets or to not meet those targets, the fines will be very, very expensive. So what we do in the next 12, 14 months will really shape the industry as we move forward. There is no one that will rest, I guarantee you, supplying powertrain technologies in the next coming month. That will shape what we do up to 2025. But beyond that, to be a sustainable industry in electrification, we really need to make sure that the cost of ownership is where it needs to be to drive and to bring solutions in e-mobility to the end consumer. And if we can't do that, if we continue have to subsidize the technology, it will have no future. So we will do everything we can to make it accessible and affordable for the end consumer. That's what we need to do in automotive. Our vision as we move forward is that by 2030, we will be looking at globally about a third of the vehicles will be battery electric, pure electric vehicles. About a third of the vehicles will be hybrid, whether it be 48 volt or full hybrid systems. And a third of the vehicles still will be combustion engine vehicles. Combustion engines will not die tomorrow. They will be part of the mobility solution as we move forward. We talked a bit about regulation. You've heard it throughout the morning. The regulation in Europe is extremely severe, and the fines are extremely important. China as well, the new emission vehicle targets are also very severe, and that is why today, as we speak, 50% of the electric vehicle market is in China. It is in China alone that is driving the change towards pure electric vehicles. As you know, the mandates in the US have changed a bit, but they will as well follow. What is that creating, and what are we seeing in the market as a result of that? We're seeing a new era in electrification. The vehicles that are coming out are no longer just the small little vehicle that is electric. We're seeing sports cars, we're seeing SUVs, we're seeing vehicles come from all over the world, and they're launching now in 2019, and they'll continue to launch. Once we have choice, once the end consumer no longer has to make a sacrifice to buy an electric vehicle, the market will continue to grow. And we're seeing that repeatedly with some of our OEMs in Europe, some of our OEMs that have spoken today, and we'll continue to see that growth coming in the next 5-10 years. The growth has started. We hit over 2 million vehicles last year, which, if you look at the curve, is an extreme growth. Not even 10 years ago, we were below 50,000, and now we're up over 2 million. 2019 will be very similar, surpassing the number of vehicles that are sold in France. So if we think of a whole country driving pure electric vehicles, that's what we will get in 2019. And like I said, half that volume is coming from China and China alone. What is the end consumer saying? And how does the end consumer approach this? It is clear today that they're very small number of people that are driving electrified vehicles, hybrid or EVs. You see a lot of gas in the US, you see a lot of gas in China. The Europeans still mixed diesel, gasoline. We still have the vehicles that we had a couple years ago. What's dramatic is the choice of our next car. We see diesel almost disappearing in Europe, alternative drive increasing in all markets, but the most alarming number for our industry is this one right here, is the number of people that don't know what they're going to get. They might have a gasoline or diesel today, and they are completely confused by all of us on what they should get next. And they look at that number and they look and they see it's actually increased over the last couple of years. 43% of people, of the 12,000 people, 13,000 people that we interviewed, don't know what they're going to get. They don't know if it's diesel, gasoline, hybrid, EV. They're completely confused. And why? They're confused because they're not really sure about what the cost is going to be. It's subsidized today. Will it be subsidized tomorrow? They're unsure about the fuel economy and the fuel efficiency. Is it what we see on the sticker? Is the WLTP the answer to my fuel efficiency number for my personal driving pattern? Does it fit all our mobility needs? Will I have to recharge? Will I have the range that I need? And of course, the environmental impact. If I'm in France, I know my electric comes from renewable resources. In Germany, it might not. What about different markets? So the overall uncertainty is forcing people to say, okay, I'll wait a bit more. Maybe the price will drop and it will clarify a bit what my choice will be. Okay, so that is a worrisome number that we need as an industry probably to better educate consumers as we move forward. One thing that we are seeing as well is that this range anxiety is not as much of an issue as we think it is. If we look at Europe, we see people, 50% of people would be happy with a car that had less than 300 kilometers range. If you put more range, you put more batteries, you put more cost. So we need to start segmenting the vehicles we make a little better, and we need to make sure that they're targeting the consumers that we want to target. Look at China. 80% of the people that answered in China would be happy with 300 kilometers. Of course, the Americans wouldn't, and the 20% here are probably German, in all honesty. So when we look at that and how does that factor into our strategy at Valéo, we have two levers. We have a low voltage side where we develop 12, 48 mild hybrid solutions, but also pure electric solutions. And we have, with our joint venture with Siemens, a high voltage side. Here we're developing complete high voltage e-drives, machines, and in complete power electronics, as well on the low voltage. We just launched the new Golf, so the Golf 8 is with a Valéo 48 volt mild hybrid system. On the high voltage side, we've supplied Volvo for years. We've supplied the Zoe with power electronics. As well in China, we are big partners of Great Wall and of Geely, so we're very, very active on the high voltage side. Our latest launch in high voltage has been with our partners at PSA, supplying the 80 kilowatt e-motor and the power electronics on the 4x4 DS7 crossover. And we still believe, just like our colleagues at Vitesco, that 48 volt is not just a hybrid solution, but it can be a complete electric drive solution. Here we see a small city car powered with a e-axle drive, 48 volt. And I will show you a little film to see how it drives around Paris. It drives quite well in all the Parisian driving situations.
Et nous voici rue Gagnéguy, qui est la rue la plus pentue de Paris. Mais même ça, pour le moteur 48 volts, ça devrait pas poser de problème. Allez, on le tente ?
Allez, on tente.
Bon, bah apparemment, on n'a pas fini de monter.
Donc nous voilà arrivés sur le plus haut point de Paris, juste à côté du Sacré-Cœur. Maintenant, il va nous falloir redescendre tout ça, mais grâce à la technologie 48 volts Valéo, on va pouvoir récupérer de l'énergie pour recharger notre batterie. Il nous reste 60% d'autonomie, mais il nous reste un gros défi à relever, c'est d'emprunter la voie la plus encombrée d'Europe, le boulevard périphérique parisien. Heureusement, avec les 150 km d'autonomie qu'on a, ça devrait être assez simple.
C'est pour ça que chez Valéo, on est convaincu que la technologie 48 volts est la meilleure solution pour démocratiser la propulsion électrique sur les mobilités urbaines de demain.
So I will conclude by saying at Valéo we offer the complete range. The importance is the future to segment what the consumer wants for each of the segments you're trying to target. Develop the most affordable solution. It could be 48, it could be high voltage, but it needs to be affordable. Thank you.